boys and ghouls, and welcome to another Monday night. We're here talking about some more monster movies for October, and I figured, what the heck, let's get into the king of the monsters. Well, the OG king of the monsters. The one and only Dracula. But of course, with me would be the good boys from 540 Studios. How's it going, guys?
I'm disappointed in that intro. I hate that intro. I've not missed it. I have not missed that intro. But doing pretty well. It's nice to be here, man.
Wait, which intro was that? Was that the countdown?
Yeah.
Yes.
A big fuck you. No, but it's fine, man. I'm good. Really tired today. Woke up really early, and I'm working on trying to find a new apartment and stuff like that. So that's my whole thing.
Yay! Yeah, you get to do all the fun stuff. Sorry to hear that, but
I was so tired today that when my old roommate came in to pick up his bed and stuff, I didn't hear him. That's how tired I was.
Shush.
So I text him a message just like, "Were you in the house today, or am I going crazy? The bed's gone." He was like, "Yeah, I was in the house today and picking up shit." And I'm just like, "When?" But yeah.
Well, it could have been worse. You could have had a.
Talk. Sorry.
Could have had a dream about eating a giant marshmallow,
and then waking up eating your pillow.
Oh.
And then the bed was gone.
Oh. Well, with my old roommate, that could have happened. No, just kidding.
Oh.
Just kidding. But Chris, how are you, man?
Not too bad. Just enjoying a day off from work because it is a national holiday. It's Columbus Day. Happy Columbus Day, ladies and gentlemen of the audience, and Ironcaster and Jace.
Yeah, and I just want to say one thing. Since you had birthday yesterday for me, it will be yesterday for me. So congratulations, brother.
Well, it's technically still my birthday today.
Yeah, for me it's a new day. So, but still, happy birthday, man.
Thanks.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. So turned 30. So woohoo! No more 20s.
I'm still in the 20s, man. I'm still in the good age.
But yeah, I gave Apollo a bath. He wasn't so happy about that. Enjoying the storms rolling through town. And yeah, enjoying just being lazy for today.
Yeah. At least you didn't have to stress with your Facebook getting deleted.
Well, that's because I don't do stupid things like offend people.
Oh yeah, I'm so toxic and offend people online.
Yes, because that is so easy to avoid in 2020 current year.
I'm the vampire of Facebook,
I'm glad you mentioned that vampires, because I think we should probably move into a little bit into the movie here.
That was my point, man. That's why I did it.
Hey, it's almost like we planned this out.
Yes.
Which we don't.
So I thought I'd pull up a poster for it, and we'll get into it.
Oh, that's of course a good poster.
Yeah, actually, the movie has a lot of interesting posters. So, to cover a little bit of basics on it, after the success of The Curse of Frankenstein, Hammer was emboldened to go ahead, and they wound up pushing to make Dracula as the follow-up, which came out the next year, and was much like the Frankenstein, was met with much critical success. Of course, in this we have Peter Cushing as Dr. Van Helsing, and Christopher Lee in what I believe to be his best role, ultimately his greatest role was Dracula.
Well, most well known.
Yeah. And Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee in their young age. If I lived back in that day, I would have been super gay for them. Just gonna say that straight out because they look so good when they're young, especially in the movie. They look so amazing.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely they. I mean, like I said last week, Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee, they put Chuck Norris to shame.
Oh yes, easy. And I have to say, Peter Cushing as Van Helsing in this movie is just mind blowing good.
Oh yeah, I agree. This is a stellar cast. Which, even considering some of the changes that they wound up making to it from the original novel.
Yeah,
For example,
Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yep, like the outright omission of Renfield.
Yeah, Renfield, who was supposed to be Dracula's accountant or something like that, until he was manipulated and became basically Dracula's companion. And basically, they change Jonathan
Harker.
Harker.
Yep. I don't know anything about the original that came before the movies. I have not read them or anything, but so I only know about the movie. So
Well,
what was the
basically,
changes from
well,
the okay? What was the changes from the book and the movie? What's like the biggest changes?
well, I mean, like for example, like what Ironcaster said is that they removed a character named Renfield completely out. So Renfield was an Englishman who went to Transylvania to help Dracula sell his castle and buy property in England.
Oh, okay.
And in the process of staying with Dracula, he basically was manipulated by Dracula to become his servant, and was promised that he would be able to become a vampire if he served Dracula and everything and
Oh, that
gain
whole thing
immortal
there, yeah.
life. And he
So
became,
basically, Dracula kind of made him his handler in a way, and
in a
like that's
sense,
no, yeah, because the handlers are like they are promised, to become vampires at some point, but normally that never happens.
yeah,
Just if you're lucky.
yes. In a sense, in a sense, yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, Renfield has a fascination with eating little critters, insects, and stuff like that. Uh,
Yikes.
yeah. He develops this fascination with insects because of
Some
his.
places in the world likes insects, so it's okay, it's a fair point, but
It's something.
yikes.
It's something along the lines of like getting life from smaller things. So like vampires, they feed on humans to sustain their own lives, and so Renfield is kind of adopting that mentality when he eats insects.
Okay.
And then there was this character named Jonathan Harker, who is sort of the pseudo main character next to Van Helsing, and he is sent to Transylvania to finish what Renfield does, because Renfield was declared insane and thrown into an insane asylum, and so Jonathan is sent in his place, and when Jonathan is there, he takes out a picture of his fiance and shows it, and Dracula sees this and becomes fascinated with the fiance. Well, that's changed in this movie here. Instead, Jonathan is sent to Transylvania. He knows Van Helsing, which is something that is not in the novel. Van Helsing and Jonathan do not know each other. They become acquainted after the initial events that starts the process of Dracula going to London and preying on the women of London. And so what happens is, like I said, Jonathan is sent in this movie. Jonathan is sent to Transylvania not to finish up selling and purchasing a land, but instead to be basically Dracula's librarian. But that is a front. Instead, Jonathan is there to kill Dracula because he knows that he's a vampire. He suspects that he's a vampire, so he is going there to kill Dracula.
Yeah, he's going under false pretenses to go in and be the hero of the story, though tragedy meets and
that way.
Yeah, he does not quite succeed at his task.
Instead, he goes to kill Dracula's wife, or his bride, first, instead of killing Dracula, which he had that very moment to do that, but instead he's like, oh, I'm going to kill the hot maiden instead, and basically doom myself to damnation.
Yeah.
And then this movie does follow along some vampire tropes that are established in the book, which is vampires have to have land, have to have soil, have to sleep in soil from their native land. So at the bottom of Dracula's casket, there is a layer of Transylvanian soil. So that has to be. So he takes that with him when he goes to other countries. There is also a river that kind of surrounds Dracula's castle, and he needs to be transported over the river because vampires cannot cross running water on their own volition. And also the usual trope of crosses ward off vampires, but it's in later films they address that not just any cross can hurt a vampire. You have to have faith in God in order to give that cross power.
Which they address in one of the sequels, where you have an atheist who's confronted with facing Dracula, who has that crisis of faith. And I think that's probably one of the more interesting moments in the later films, that we actually get to push the boundaries and ideas of building upon faith in these films.
Yes,
Dracula's not just afraid of the alphabet.
Yes, and which is very interesting because when around the time that these movies are taking place, which is roughly 1880, 1890s Europe, this is around the time that people are separating science from God and are more so abandoning the Bible and are instead looking to science to explain everything.
Anyone who who watched the previous film will no doubt remember this set, as this is one of the more memorable. This is one of the sets that gets reused quite a bit in Hammer films. And in fact, this movie makes use of it multiple times, which was quite humorous to start taking notice of.
I mean, in fact, actually,
it's a really beautiful place. I love the setup. How they made it. It's such a beautiful setup.
In fact, it's very funny because when Jonathan first enters the castle, you basically have this setup, but there's a massive curtain blocking off the stairs and also the back wall. There are several arches placed right in the middle, and the table is not there. So then he goes through another door, and it cuts to this very same set, but with the curtain missing, the arches missing, and the table placed up.
Yep. Which kind of humorously, as we were kind of discussing last night, it's like he just keeps walking back into the same room. Dracula's castle.
Yes. And in fact, actually, later on in the film, when you actually do go to Dracula's library, this is something that I noticed when I watched this movie last time with Ironcaster. The stairs is removed. There is another wall placed where the balcony and the back wall is, and there's a fireplace where the door is. Or not a fireplace, but a throne or sorts or something like that. And I'm just looking at the scene, and I just see this weird this weird set of wall that's kind of, I don't know, this part of the wall that's slightly raised and angled, and it goes straight up into the other wall. And I'm just like, is that where the stairs were?
But it's a good way to a good way to like reuse the place and stuff.
Save money, yeah.
Save money, especially in that time too, when you didn't have the biggest budget. So it's pretty smart when you can actually do that and know how to do that.
Yes, well, I mean, back then, horror movies weren't the big sellers that they are today. When someone made a horror movie, it was very underfunded. I mean, the companies would just throw a couple thousand at these producers, or producers would just throw a couple thousand at these companies and say, "Here, good luck. If you don't do so good, it won't hurt us very much." But surprisingly, Hammer horror movies did
pretty well.
Did very well, good. Yes.
Yeah, like this one, for example, was said to have raked in like $25 million. And let me see. Of course, and the budget for these would be in the couple hundred thousands.
Yeah, the budget was, because I have it on the side here, was 81,000, I guess. I'm not so good with numbers.
A lot less than the 25 million they raked in.
There we go. I sent in a private chat just to be sure that.
Okay, yeah, but
yeah,
81,000 pounds.
Yeah. That was the budget of the movie, and they earned so goddamn much. That is impressive. Was this movie just originally just like a one-off before it became really big? Or
probably.
Well, I don't think they ever really intended to make any of these movies with sequels in mind. But
no,
it was just a matter of...
No, because I'm just thinking about the way, Dracula kind of dies.
Yeah. It's like, well, you strike gold with these films, and you just... Yeah. The smart money is to just keep hitting that same button over and over. No. We've got a good thing rolling. We gotta hit this again.
Yeah, because after what I've seen, on reviews and stuff, people love the first one the best of all the others. The first one is the biggest hit.
Yes, definitely. Especially because in this one, this is the most amount of lines that we're going to hear from from Dracula.
Yeah, because he doesn't talk much.
He doesn't
have a whole lot of screen time either.
No, especially in later movies, because really, I mean, this is actually, if you want to do character movies, this is actually probably the best of how to do character movies. How to do, instead of focused on the monster, which is Dracula, you focus on decent storytelling and writing and acting, which is Van Helsing, him trying to convince the
family of Mina.
Yes. Even though she dies herself, she is so basically, another change that they make is that in the original story, there are two characters. One of them is Jonathan's fiance, Mina.
It's usually Mina, yes.
And then
all I'm gonna say is that at least it's not the Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires.
Oh, that one comes later.
That's the last one they made. That is. Yes. I'm just gonna say that is the Hellraiser 3 on my list. That's how much I don't like that.
And then, and the other female character is named Lucy, and so Lucy is in the original story. Lucy is targeted by Dracula, and she is killed, and she is made into a vampire, which she is then later on killed by Van Helsing and a handful of other Londonians before Dracula targets Nina. Well, in the story, in this movie, they combine Lucy and Nina into one character, and she is promptly killed and turned into a vampire by Dracula. And so then they end up killing her instead.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, overall, it is a lot of fun for these movies. You know, I think there's kind of some issues with the writing for it because you don't really get a sense of time passing or hell of even Dracula traveling very far at all.
Okay, so correction.
Yeah.
It's not that they combine Nina and Lucy into one character. They actually swap their characters. Lucy is married to Nina's brother. That's right. I completely forgot about that. And also, another difference is by reading a little bit of this, this movie, instead of taking place in Transylvania and also in London, it takes place in Transylvania and in a country and also in a town in southern Germany or central Germany, central southern Germany or something like that. Yeah, in northern Bavaria.
Yeah, so arguably they didn't have to travel very far, and Dracula didn't have to get another castle with an identical room.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so they kill Nina. In this movie, they kill Nina, and so then Dracula starts going after Lucy, the wife of Nina's brother, or Nina's, brother.
So, I mean, character-wise, what did you guys think of Dracula for this? I mean, Christopher Lee doesn't get a whole lot of screen time, but
he doesn't get a lot of screen time, but I think he does a good job. He's not, like I said before we started stream, he's not the smartest one in the movie, but I think he does a really good job, and it's Christopher Lee. He's such a great actor, and like he will always, be one of the best actors in the Star Wars prequels, in my opinion. He will always be when it comes to that part, and seeing him in this movie, just I think he's a really great actor. I wish, of course, I wish he had more screen time and stuff like that, because I would love to see him more into the character and just mostly just small parts and then mostly at the end.
Yeah, this is definitely Christopher Lee's acting in this. Even though he may not have much screen time on the movie, he definitely still projects a air of dominance and control. I mean, we were watching the movie yesterday, Ironcaster, and I was commenting about how when he's walking around on the set, you kind of feel a little threatened by him. And he's the tallest person on set, and even when he's walking up the stairs, he's taking those steps 2 at a time.
Yeah, that was a funny little thing to pick up on for this. It's just he's so big. He has to take them like that.
Yeah, and for me, no, and the chemistry, with Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee and the whole cast with, it's incredible. I miss that in movies. You see the connection, you see the passion for acting and the chemistry with the actors.
They're definitely professionals. This is professional acting at its best. Even though the Hammer horror movies are kind of campy in a way, these actors are professional enough to put their all into it and not let the campiness get in the way. And that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate that actors today, they don't have that kind of same seriousness when it comes to every role that they do.
Yeah. That's like, no, but what are you talking about? They will take it dead serious in Sharknado 5.
Well, I mean, in defense, in the first Sharknado, they tried to be serious, but they fucking failed.
Well, I mean, so just to show how serious these actors will do their roles, Christopher Lee later on will do a movie called oh god, now I can't remember what it's called. The Wicker Man.
Never heard about that movie. Oh my god.
He will do a movie. He will do a movie that is called Wicker Man, and this was an underfunded movie that ended up being a cult classic. And he, in this role, Christopher Lee basically does it for free. He's good. He's just friends with the person who made the movie, and he does it just for free. Very little money, and he does a phenomenal job in it. And actually, in some part of the movie, he's the leader of the cult of this island, basically. And his acting is kind of chilling when they get to the climax of the movie.
Yeah, and especially like with, let's say, I'm gonna say this again, like Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee. If I was young at that time and this movie came out, I would have simped so hard for them and be like, okay, I know I'm bisexual now. They made me bisexual. So I didn't feel threatened when I saw Christopher Lee. I was just like, damn, he looks good when he's younger. God damn, I don't care, man. He just looks fucking good.
Another thing that I pointed out to Ironcaster in this movie is that the character Arthur, who is Nina's
Arthur, yeah.
Nina's brother, and also the man who assists Van Helsing, is played by
Michael Gough. I can't say his last name.
Yes, Michael Gough. Yeah. And this man, if you don't know this man's name, you will recognize his voice because he is the man who plays Alfred in the Batman movies from the 90s. Yeah. Everyone will recognize that voice. You may not recognize his face because he's so young, but you will recognize his voice if you pay very close attention.
Yeah, you had to point out to me that that was Alfred, and once it was pointed out to me, it was obvious. Like, oh yeah, this totally is Alfred.
Yeah, he's one of the best Alfreds out there from the old times, man. And yes. he also played in Sleepy Hollow with Johnny Depp.
Yes, but another thing is that he also plays a character from Doctor Who. He plays a villain known as the Celestial Toymaker. Which
so is now I just found out that Chris. I just found out that Peter Cushing has done Doctor Who, and now I found out this guy's also doing Doctor Who. Why are you fucking assholes telling me to actually watch the fucking show?
Sadly,
I know.
Sadly, the episodes that Michael Gough appears in, they're among the lost episodes of the first Doctor. All that you have is the audio as well as stills.
Yeah. But still, I'm sold. Before we start the show, I am so sold to Doctor Who right now.
We'll have to sit back. We'll have to go do a little stream and check it out at a later date. But yeah, I think that'll be fun to do.
You know what I think I have to do just before we continue. I think I have to do some streaming and talk about Doctor Who every time I've seen one episode or something. Because that would be my first real introduction to Doctor Who.
Oh, there's a lot of interesting places that could be to introduce you to it.
Oh yeah. But yeah, continue with the movie. It's your show, so come on, let's
So I think that as great as Peter, as great as Christopher Lee is in this film, I think ultimately the one who really steals it for the scenes he's in is probably going to be Peter Cushing. I think Peter Cushing deserves more credit in this movie than.
Oh yeah, Peter Cushing is nailing this movie. He is the fucking face of this movie, basically.
Yep. I mean, it's kind of unfortunate that hang on, sorry. I don't think it's quite as good as he was in Dr. Frankenstein, just because he's so compelling in that movie.
Yeah.
But I think he's solid here. He comes in. He seems to know what he's doing, and fighting vampires.
Actor, and he's a real professional actor. He really was in the role of Dr. Van Helsing and nailed it, I think. he should get more prop for doing that. And Van Helsing is a hard character to play too.
I mean, ultimately, it's Peter Cushing playing Peter Cushing.
Yeah,
And he has just the right amount of charm and charisma to him that you totally
basically
buy
he has
like,
it kind of has the personality to Van Helsing in a way. It's like you can say the same thing with the guy in Robert Downey Jr. He has the personality to Iron Man. Like he has the personality basically in real life, and that's the same thing I feel a little bit with Peter Cushing. He kind of has that little personality, that little vibe into him with Van Helsing in a way.
Yep. And I think one of the big downsides is you do not get that. You don't get that a real proper face off between Van Helsing and Dracula in this movie.
Oh yeah,
where you don't have them sort of battling wits. Like Dracula just snarls at him.
Yeah, the fight goes. It's kind of a really fast fight. It really goes like this with a snap over. Unfortunately, yeah. I wish I could see more because it's Peter Cushing's Christopher Lee and Dracula and Van Helsing. You kind of want to see a little bit, but it is what it is, and it's still good. But not everything can be 100% perfect or what we like, of course.
Yeah, just grab a couple more screenshots from it. Thanks, IMDb.
That's really good quality too.
Yeah, it's one I would love to see. It's one of those eras. It's one of those films from the era I would love to see get a 4K restoration. But I don't know if that's ever going to happen.
Yeah, I understand why he played a Doctor Who right now because I can see it on him. He has that little vibe to him that is incredible. Damn.
Like I said, it's kind of unfortunate in this because I mean, Christopher Lee just kind of stands around and snarls at people.
Yeah,
you don't get that sophistication that you expect from him, thanks to his later roles, like in Star Wars as Count Dooku.
Yeah, or Saruman and
or Saruman.
But it's like after a whole movie and you get to the end, you are teased with getting that final climax fight.
Yep. So they have to kind of figure it out that the vampire exists, and you get a lot of those iconic beats where if you've seen a version of Dracula, you've seen a lot of the other ones.
Yeah.
Wherein, by the way, thank you, Chris.
Yeah, you will do that. Yeah. But we just talked about the first movie now.
Yep. Yeah, those are some fun ones to go watch and kind of marathon these, because I mean this movie comes in at what 90 minutes.
Yeah, I think so. They're not that long. I've actually been wondering if I'm gonna get a Blu-ray set of the movies.
I mean, there's also been a few releases where they've gone and released them on DVD and multi-packs that are pretty easy to find and pick up.
Yeah, I will see what I find in Norway, or if not, I just have to get myself a region-free player.
eBay's your friend.
Yes, eBay is my friend, and I also been thinking about see if I can find some figures or something of Peter Cushing's Van Helsing and Christopher Lee's Dracula.
Thrills, chills, and shudders in this top-notch horror drama. It is made to order for the sensation-seeking fans, young and old. The use of Technicolor and the fine settings add immeasurability to the realism. This one can't miss. I mean, as well, it didn't really have a whole lot of. Well, Hammer was ultimately known for a lot of the shown skin, the nudity and all that, and this didn't really have a whole lot of that.
No. But it's not that dangerous if it's not so much nudity. It depends on the movie. I don't mind it if it's a
Right.
lot or
Well,
not.
you got to remember this is Hammer we're talking about, and typically, if you're going to go see a Hammer film, you're expecting to see a little bit of booby.
A little bit of booby. I feel like that was a lot in old movies, to be honest. If you
Oh
like go
yeah.
back to
Like Hammer was famously like always getting buffed up against the British, like I don't want to say British censors, but the British film reviewers. They had a big problem with Hammer because they kept like kind of pushing that envelope. And so here you now have these takes on these classic horror films. And now we're in color and we're starting to get into the nudity, the what's that romanticization of evil.
Yeah.
And the macabre, the horror with these, where oftentimes to their advantage, they like to build up the suspense with them.
Yeah.
I gotta go through a couple of these. What else do we have? Christopher Lee. There he is. His first appearance at the start of the film.
Okay.
Well, it's a okay first appearance for Dracula.
Yeah.
Or it's an okay first appearance, but it doesn't have the same sort of impact that Bela Lugosi had in 31, where the camera pans up to him.
Oh yeah. In that way, yeah.
Like he winds up. It's like he demands the camera comes to him, and it really works in that film. But here we are, 20, 25 years later, and we have a lot of limitations, which kind of comes with the low budget of what Hammer was.
Low budget and everything that happens to happen then.
Of course, has been released a bunch of times on some tapes.
Oh, I love those figures.
Oh wow, I need those statues. I didn't know those were a thing.
Man. I want them myself. I'm gonna go on eBay, man.
I'm gonna beat you to them.
Well, I don't have the money right now, so I can't buy them yet. And unfortunately, I can't buy figures at the moment because I have to save money to the convention I'm going on. I'm finally going to a convention, Game Expo in Norway, so I'm gonna, have a great time and stuff like that. But I need to go on eBay
and yeah, Chris is right. That appearance is still imposing. Like even when he's standing up there, where it just seems like he stands taller than the frame itself.
Yeah.
Than the doorway itself.
Wasn't Christopher Lee was a little bit tall, wasn't he?
Oh, he was like, I want to say 6'5". Like he's incredibly tall.
Yeah. I still would have loved to see him at the. Okay, we say it never came any sequels. We say there were no sequels, and this was like the only movie. I would still love to have like a bigger fight because when you think about it, it's Christopher Lee, and he was good with swords and fighting and stuff like that. So I would have loved to see him, fight a little bit in the movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of places they could have really stretched this out to actually expand upon this. I mean, here you have Peter Cushing as Van Helsing to go and slay vampires.
Yeah, and the cool thing with Peter Cushing too, he was in good shape. Like when you see him running around doing stuff, he was in really good shape. And I would have really loved to see Chris and Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing have that little climax fight. And if they did that, and I was young at that time, I would have been all over it. But that's not the case.
Yeah, which I guess kind of getting into a little bit of the end, since it's like we keep hinting towards that big fight at the end.
Yeah,
where you have Christopher Lee chasing him down, chasing him back to the castle. And while it is a it is an exciting build up to it. It's ultimately, I mean, you have Van Helsing getting like completely overpowered by him.
Yeah.
And it is like Van Helsing was nearly choked to death if not for the intervention of some sunlight
Yeah.
and the
Oh yeah.
well placed use of a cross to push him back towards some sunlight.
What I love with this scene is that Christopher Lee actually looks like he's in pain.
Yeah,
He actually looks like he's in so much pain, and with the
I'm
ice.
in such pain because my back is contorted.
But it's like his eyes and everything with his face is just, it screams pain, like he's suffering with the sun, and that is really great acting in my opinion.
Yeah, it looks like this is supposed to be one of the 58 of 180. Screen service. Yeah, it looks like these might have been what they used to advertise the films in the inside of the theaters. That they would have little cards up. Like, I understand there's a bit of a market for collecting those.
Well, also just to get on to part of Jace's comments about the pain part, those contacts are made probably from real glass, and those weren't very comfortable in the eyes.
No, they were not, because we actually talked about that with Memnock and Bruce Lee, and that's one of the reasons Bruce Lee didn't want to wear the contacts, because they were made of real glass and so uncomfortable. And if you think about it, if you have a real fight with contact lenses at that time, they will break in your eye. And
so when you're saying that he's probably in pain, he's probably in pain thinking to himself, oh my god, my eyes.
Yeah, because they were not small at that time. More like that, it was the whole eye basically with the glass. But it's also like the facial and everything, and how he moves his mouth and everything. It just fucking works.
I guess they would also do a few double features, bringing out the Curse of Frankenstein and the Horror of Dracula.
And they had to be very careful not to cross too many lines to get to bump into Universal's territory on Dracula.
Right, the fact that because I guess at this point the classic Universal films were still getting played in some small theaters, and so they were to avoid brushing up with it and playing in the and getting the two confused, they tacked on the titles of the Curse of Frankenstein and the Horror of Dracula.
Yeah. Oh my god, what a price! But this figure was beautiful. I actually found a figure. The price is. There we go. I sent it in a private chat, and that price is not nice, but it's a good figure.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I'll go ahead and.
Yep. That is an insane price, but look at the figure.
Yeah, it was really good.
If I had the money, if I had the money enough, I would have bought that figure of Christopher Lee, because that is a beaut.
I gotta look that up now. When did? Okay. I was just wondering out of curiosity when The Man with the Golden Gun came out, which wouldn't be for about another 18 years after this.
So here's something very interesting. So when Dracula was killed, he fell upon that seal in the middle of his room, which had a combination of Greek and Roman letters.
I can't find it. Yeah, so I was looking through the gallery here, and there was a photo someone had put in of it. Like, unfortunately, this is a movie I haven't been able to find any sort of commentary track for, or any sort of reasonable price. But it's one I do want to get into to kind of hear some commentary from like some experts on Hammer about it.
Okay, so what's behind him right there is the Zodiac, and on the inside of the wheel, the Zodiac wheel, on the inside of the wheel, there is Greek and Latin phrasing in it. The inner circle, the Greek, is a quote from Homer's Odyssey book, chapter 18, 136 to 137. The mind of men who live on earth is such as the day the father of gods and men, aka Zeus, brings upon them. And in the outer wheel is Latin, from Hesiod via Bartolomeo Angelico, which basically says, in the earth first bore starry heaven, equal to herself, to cover her on every side, and to be an ever sure abiding place for the blessed goddess. And Dracula's ring is left on the glyph of the sign of Aquarius on the zodiac wheel. When his body dissolves in the sunlight.
Yeah. Interesting.
I found a different Hammer Dracula Migo for you.
That's not bad.
Hey, brightest day.
Hey there, brightest day.
Hail to you, man. Hail to you.
Yeah, he was over with MVP talking a little bit of The Thing earlier.
Yeah, I saw that.
Did you do the blood test yet?
But overall, this is a good movie, and maybe we should talk a little bit about what happens before, because we have been a bit repetitive on certain stuff. Maybe we should talk a little bit about the story, or...
I mean, I think we've kind of hit a lot of the kind of basic stuff about it, so it seems like it's probably a good time to kind of wrap up a little bit, I think. But just to show a little bit of the end result of that final death scene for Dracula.
Oh, it's so great.
This is even though they weren't well funded, the practical effects were stellar.
Are amazing. They're still amazing, even though it's not the biggest budget, like you said, but it's still fucking amazing. And this is also what I said so many times. I miss the old days with practical effects. It just has another feel to it.
Yep. Oh yeah, you're not getting this constantly in the film, and they really had to decide where they wanted to use those practical effects. So of course, if we're fighting Dracula, killing him off, we got to give him a bloody, gory death, and what better way than to turn him to dust in the sun as he's like ripping his rapidly decomposing skin off his face here.
Aging and decomposing skin. I mean, because he's not just it's very much like him being exposed to sun is basically undoing the centuries of de-aging that he has been the centuries of aging that he's been avoiding.
Yep.
Of course, not that it's much of a surprise, but he comes back.
Yeah, he does. He does.
And it's a very interesting way where they bring him back the first time around. They hang a dead body over over his casket full of his ashes, and Dracula is a servant.
I've not seen that
who,
movie yet.
Well, Dracula's servant throws dead chickens
Spoilers.
on the body.
I mean, they
that
all
doesn't
sing
actually
Kumbaya,
happen.
and he comes back just to sing along.
Yes, they sing Kumbaya, and as well as
So they're not singing the WAP song. I'm out of here, man.
no, they're not singing the WAP sound. They're singing doo-wop.
Oh God! You'll have Ben Shapiro singing WAP. Yeah, so like
Oh my
he has to
God,
recite it in Hebrew.
now I'm like hearing Christopher Lee. You know, when he has that, that his rock band that he had, right? When he did some musical rock and stuff.
Oh,
And
geez.
now I can hear the song WAP while he's singing it with the band in the way he does. That would actually been really interesting.
So I think to kind of wrap up a little bit, to talk with to focus on Christopher Lee a little bit. What's been what role of his has been your guys' favorite? I mean,
for me, it will always
like,
be Count Dooku. It will always be Count Dooku because he was also like one of my favorite characters, and I always got mad that he had to die. I know it's because of the movie and how George wanted it, but I just love this character so much. I just love Count Dooku, and I wish you could have like gotten more of him in the movies. But of course, you also have Saruman of Man, because I'm Norwegian. Sorry for butchering the name. I'm Norwegian. I'm sorry. But like those are two of my favorite roles. And I will be honest, I haven't seen so many movies with him before, the Dracula movies. So my first introduction to him was, Saruman and Count Dooku. So that was like my peak of, getting to know the actor and see his acting. And yeah, so those will be my favorite characters that he has played. But I also have to say that I really enjoy his Dracula, and I am gonna watch more movies of him and get through more movies with him.
I mean, by and large, these are probably the 4 roles he's going to be best remembered for, because here he is tied to 4 big characters or big properties.
Mm-hmm.
And I think ultimately these are going to be the characters that he's best remembered for.
Yeah.
I mean, in many ways, they're these sophisticated, intellectual, looming figures that could tell you secrets of that. In with every one of these, you totally believe that he's this man who could tell you all the secrets of the universe.
Oh yeah.
Hold on one second. Okay, sorry. I don't think you wanted to hear me sneeze. It's really big. I will. I can't really settle on one, because I have to settle. I have to say that I love his roles, all of his roles. Unfortunately, I have not seen the Man with the Golden Gun. That is something I'm going to rectify at some point in time. But I love him as Dracula. I love him as Saruman. I love him as Count Dooku, and I also love him as this character from The Wicker Man, which is the leader of this island cult that basically goes back into old pagan religions, and because their island isn't doing so good with their harvest. And like I said, Christopher Lee did this role for basically nothing. He was doing it as a courtesy to a friend.
Yeah. What about you, Frankencaster?
So I think of the roles, it's probably going to have to be the Count Dooku's the one I always go to.
Yeah.
Well, it's really the 2 I would say are going to be him giving the speeches as Saruman, and him with the lightsaber and that sophisticated, Count Dooku. It's kind of those are the two.
And it makes sense because you also look like Obi-Wan Kenobi, so
as we were discussing and discovering before the stream.
Unfortunately, he did beat your ass twice.
Yes.
Both prequels, he beat your ass. I'm sorry, Caster. You get beaten by the legend.
But at least Iron Rod Kenobi was able to train the one who defeated him.
Jeez.
But yeah.
Also, him doing the he did some work with the Tim Burton films.
Yes.
Where he was in the Corpse Bride.
Yes, he was.
Yes, he was.
Wasn't he the
preacher?
Yeah. He also did the Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory. He was Willy Wonka's
Wonka.
Yeah, he was Willy Wonka's father.
Yep.
Oh wow, he came back to reprise the role of Scaramanga in some of the later James Bond video games.
Yep.
That was his character from the film. They wound up doing a big game, Rogue Agent, where you wind up playing a 00 who goes rogue, who winds up going to Spectre, where you encounter all these iconic villains. Your Dr. No, your Goldfinger, your Scaramanga.
Yeah.
Which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Cursorily was in 5 Tim Burton movies. One was Sleepy Hollow. One was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Corpse Bride. Alice in Wonderland. And
Dark Shadows.
I don't remember that, but I don't remember Dark Shadows, but
that was the.
I mean, I know. I mean, I don't remember watching it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I think that's gonna be pretty good for the stream for this week.
Yeah, it was really fun, man. Thanks for having me on, and
this time you didn't sleep through this episode.
No, but there's a lot of things going on in real life, so.
Yeah, I know. But
reality comes first, as they say.
Let's see here. What else did he do?
It was really fun. I'm excited to do more of this. And Ironcaster, I want you on our channel too, and we're gonna go through some other horror movies.
Yep, I am definitely looking forward to talking The Crow.
Oh man, so am I. I am actually planning to buy a camera just for that day. And I'm also gonna buy some makeup. So yeah.
Good choice. So what have you guys got coming up on the channel? Anything?
The Monday shows are coming back at some point. Clay is, coming back. We did talk. He's been busy with fixing his new room where he lives. So that's why he's actually not been so much on the channel. And he told me that he missed doing the streams. So the Monday shows will come back. The normal Monday shows. And then, we have the Thursday shows. And I was thinking of if we got time, we will do a little stream on our channel after this, maybe a little birthday stream to Chris himself, and just celebrate his birthday, and just having fun, talk about whatever. And we are working on the Star Wars streams. We have delayed it a couple of times, but we
More
will
than
do it
a couple times.
eventually. So we'll do it eventually. And yeah, my Facebook got deleted. But that's another story. No, so that's basically it right now on the channel. I am gonna do some more gaming streams. And we are gonna do the horror nights and talk about some horror movies. And I'm currently like writing down a list and trying to plan out what movie we are gonna start with, what movies we are gonna go through. And yeah, and then you can also find me on Pop Culture Minefield, Comics Divisions sometimes, and Fat Steven, T-shirt historian, and of course here, of course. And it's I think that's pretty much it at the moment. And I just want to say thank you for having me on. It's always a fucking pleasure. You're such a great guy, Ironcaster, and you deserve more love, more views, and everything. And to everyone who's watching, remember, life's too short and make the most of it. And just remember that we in 540 and Ironcaster and everyone, we love you and appreciate you. And just thank you for supporting us through these days, especially in 2021 with the hard times and, supporting each other and showing love and support and everything. So just thank you.
Yeah, that's a that's a lot of great sentiment there. And that was kind of one of the things I wanted to do. I wanted to delve into a lot of movies and shows that I really like, and I wanted to share with some people, which is why I thought delving into some of these classic horror films was probably a fun way to start. And I'm glad to be able to sit around and just kind of have some fun talking about these for a while with some guys, or girls if they choose to show up.
If they want to help us doing some diversity.
Yeah, this is definitely a time period where a lot of things that we used to love, it's just not becoming worth it to fight for it. I mean, no one's listening to us. We're saying, hey, this isn't going to work, and yet they're still doing it. They're the companies that are doing all this, there's destroying what we love. So I mean, it's time that we just kind of just walk away from it and care about what we love, which is the older stuff, reflect on that, and hopefully someday these companies that are screwing around with everything will eventually start listening to us as we worry about old Star Wars with the EU. We worry about Marvel with the original comics, the original TV shows from the 90s and the 2000s, the original DC comics, all that stuff.
You basically just focus on a lot of good stuff. Just focus on a lot of good stuff, and having just turn your mind off, watch some old stuff, and have fun, and share with your friends like Ironcaster, sharing the movies he loves and probably grew up on watching, and just showing that around. Making
some of these I came to a little bit later in life, but I've come to love them for what they are.
Yeah.
And speaking of things I love, Chris, are you ready for tomorrow night?
Yes, I am ready very much for tomorrow night to watch the next episode in the original Gundam series, where Rumbaral is going to show that he is a man of war.
I love me some Rumbaral. But to send us out, I wanted to show off the movie for next week. While it's not a Hammer film, it is, however, a film of this similar era. This time, though, we're going up to the 60s, and a little known actor who's known nowadays for is like an iconic laugh in a little song that gets played around around Halloween.
His little rap as well.
Yes, a certain man who helped inspire Doctor Strange, Mr. Vincent Price, and the Pit and the Pendulum.
Oh, I've actually never seen that.
Ooh, this is
I
gonna be a fun one.
remember.
I'm
I
excited.
remember reading this. I remember reading the actual story back in I think it was my freshman year of high school, and it was definitely terrifying.
Also, this is a Roger Corman film.
So
If
this will be
you-
extra,
who could-
this will be extra fun.
Yeah,
what
man
is
who
it with
managed to
you
make
and
about-
boomers being afraid of stuff like this? I don't understand. It's just children movies.
Oh, I think I watched this in middle school. But
Oh, I'm excited to watch it, so I will be there.
I am definitely looking forward to this one. And it's been so long since I watched it that I want to go jump back into this one immediately. But
That
we
is
gotta save that for next week, guys.
Yeah, we have to.
Hopefully I get you guys to come back and share some thoughts on it.
Oh, you know that I'll have
Oh
the
yeah,
time for it.
I will come back. I'm gonna
All
watch
right.
this.
You get to experience that Vincent Price. Till next
He
time.
is a
Excited.
classic. I remember Vincent Price from the Scooby-Doo, the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo.
Yep. Yep. Well, we'll talk more about that next week. And until next time, guys, we're signing out. Have a happy Halloween, folks.
See you and salutations.